So let's hop on our Titans and figure out what I missed with Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 opens with this cool montage from Cooper, who's our main character, and he's talking about the bond between a pilot and a Titan, and he helps establish the conflict between the militia and the IMC, the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation. The militia wants to remain independent from the IMC, and the IMC wants to control and export all the resources on the frontier. You know, just your run-of-the-mill evil corporation. Boy, I'm sure glad we don't have any corporations like that on Earth. Then we cut to Cooper on board the MCS James McAllen, as the militia is approaching the IMC-controlled planet Typhon. Then we finish the tutorial and you'll get a title drop. This was kind of a weak title drop. I don't know if putting it right after the tutorial was a good idea. I'd give this title drop a 4 out of 10. The MCS James McAllen is ambushed by the IMC, and then Cooper uses an escape pod to get away. After the crash, Cooper is ambushed by the IMC, and we get a taste of that sweet respawn snappy shooting. Anyway, after that, Cooper is almost crushed to death by this enemy Titan, but not before Captain Latamosa shows up, and they're dead. But then Cooper passes out, but he's woken up by the Kanker sisters and Blisk. Blisk is a mercenary for hire, kind of a cookie cutter, cartoonishly evil mercenary. I will say, of all the mercenaries in this game, he is the best, but he's still pretty weak. He's the leader of the Apex Predators. Honestly, I think these lame villains are the only weak point of this game. So then Cooper passes out again. We're gonna see this a few more times. But this time he's woken up refreshingly by being eaten alive. But then he gets saved by BT. And then we get a proper introduction to BT-7274. Captain Latamosa is dying, but he gives Cooper control of BT before he dies. It's actually kind of a sad moment, to be honest with you. So now Cooper is a pilot and we have to find some power sources for BT. So we head down the left side and we fight some prowlers and we get an introduction to this satisfying movement system. It's zippy, it's snappy, it's well controlled, and it just makes you feel fast. And we fight some IMC grunts along the way and get introduced to some new weapons like the sniper rifle. And then after a while, we reach the power source. You make it back to BT and we get introduced to the dialogue tree, which kind of lets you choose what kind of relationship you want to have with BT. Do you want to have a more serious relationship, a more professional relationship, or do you want to have kind of a buddy cop comedy relationship? This was another excellent choice. Anyway, after we talk to BT, he says that he needs another battery. So this time you head down the right side, and it's more or less the same as the left side, except now the IMC is aware that Cooper is here. You get the battery and make it back to BT, and you finally get to pilot a Titan. And it is perfect. It is everything you want. Your Titan has weight, and it feels powerful. As a pilot, you feel so nimble and quick, but so fragile compared to the Titans. It makes the Titan not just some cheap mechanic, but its own character. So our new objective is to rendezvous with Major Anderson. On the way, we run into some militia pilots, Sergeant Freeborn and Lieutenant Shaver. We help them kill some enemy Titans. After we defeat those Titans, we're introduced to the Titan class system, which helps keeps the combat varied. But I personally lean towards the Expedition class most of the game, so we're heading through this industrial area beneath the Typhon colony, but there's a gate blocking BT, so we have to disembark to open it. This game does a great job balancing between Titan and pilot. As soon as you feel like you're getting comfortable with the Titan, it pulls you out and makes you a pilot again, and as soon as you feel like the pilot combat's getting a little stale, it puts you right back into BT.
Protocol 4. Like this video and subscribe to this channel.
So now you make your way through some servicing tunnels, and this is where the pilot combat really clicked for me. Just the sliding and the wall running and then the one-tapping enemies. Anyway, after that, we make it to the control room to open the gate, but then Cooper gets stuck in the control room, so him and BT have to split up. And then you get introduced to Kane on some comms. He's another mercenary, but like I said, he's kind of just another cookie-cutter, run-of-the-mill mercenary. You've seen this guy before. So you make your way through the scaffolding and you run into some militia forces, and you help them defeat some stalkers. A little while later, we run into BT again, and we can continue our mission to rendezvous with Major Anderson. Not before we run into Kane. This fight's okay. It's a little easy, and Kane's just kind of lame. You know how every evil group in a movie always has the chaotic, erratic, crazy one who's kind of a loose cannon? Yeah, that's Kane. Anyway, we beat Kane, and then we get his helmet, so now we have access to IMC comms. After that, BT recommends we take a shortcut to Major Anderson. On the way, you get the Scorch loadout, but I think the Scorch loadout's better at killing you than actually killing enemies. Then we get introduced to another mercenary named Ash. And remember that generic trio of villains I told you about? Well, she's like the creepy assassin girl. You've seen this before. Kane is the unpredictable, chaotic one. Blisk is the serious leader. And then Ash is just the creepy assassin girl. So we're definitely filling the molds of generic villains so far. So we head through BT's shortcut, and this takes us to the combat training facility. And then after you get there, you flip this switch and BT gets taken away by this crane, which seems a little out of character and kind of goofy for him to get grabbed like one of those claw machines, but whatever. So now we have to go solo through the facility substation, which is these arms and conveyor belts that are assembling this training arena. And this level is excellent because you're dodging these arms and running on these belts as they're slowly assembling this giant platform, and you're trying to fight all these enemies while this is happening. It's just excellent level design, and you have to be on your toes constantly. Eventually you end up on this completed combat arena, but it's sideways, and you have to parkour your way out, and it's so well done. After that, you make it to the top, which is like this virtual reality room, and then Ash sends these waves of enemies at you. Then you escape the arena and Ash does the whole, perhaps I underestimated you cliche line. Then BT says that he escapes, so now we gotta go meet up with him and fight our way through the arena. And now we fight Ash. This fight's a little cooler than Kane's, just because Ash is more of a threat up close. But if you use the flight core ability, her sword is basically useless. Anyway, then you beat her and unceremoniously crush her in your hands like a bug. And then after that, BT and Cooper escape the facility. A little while later, we arrive at Major Anderson's rendezvous point, and we get our first time shift. This whole level has this amazing time shift mechanic, where you're jumping back and forth between time. Anyway, after a while, we find Major Anderson, and he's dead. But his helmet reveals that the IMC is hiding some sort of energy discovery here, and now we need to get his wristband. So we fight our way through the facility, shifting back and forth in time, and eventually make it to the other half of Major Anderson. And this is really where the level becomes excellent. So now that we have the wristband, we need to find the remaining data from Major Anderson's logbook. A little while later, we find his logbook and we find out that the IMC has discovered a device called the Ark. It can fold space and time, and they plan to use it like a Death Star to destroy the planet Harmony. But after that, we head back to BT, and he needs to get a closer look at the Ark to scan it. So you fight these waves of enemies and flip some switches, all while shifting between past and present. Then Cooper makes it to the Ark, and we get this cool frozen in time scene as Cooper scans the Ark. We learn that Major Anderson was right. The IMC are going to use this Ark as a Death Star. So then Cooper and BT pull a Rogue One, and they gotta get this information back to the militia fleet using a radio beacon. Then on the way there, we run into Captain Cole from the militia fleet, so we gotta help them. And Captain Cole tells us that the beacon is shut down and needs to have the power jumped with an arc tool. So Cooper heads in the substation to get it. This is the only mission in the game that kinda sorta feels like padding a little bit, but it's more Titanfall, so I'm not complaining. Anyway, you make your way through the substation and you get the arc tool, so then Cooper heads back up to jumpstart the beacon. So we get this thing powered, but then there's a fault, so the beacon shuts down again. So the only way to fix it is for Cooper and BT to head up there to repair the beacon. So BT finds a working module and throws us across the gap. And now Cooper's on his own to get a working module. This area is great. There's some excellent parkour, there's some verticality, and some moving platforms with the arc tool. A little while later, Cooper gets the module, and now we gotta get back to BT. So a little while later, we meet up with BT again, and we gotta repair that module, so BT throws us up there. So you make it to the top, and you fix it, then the module raises up, so Cooper starts falling. BT saves us in this badass moment.
Got you.
Anyway, after that, we head back to the control room to get the message to the fleet. But then Richter shows up. He's one of the mercenaries who, I don't really remember this guy. I don't know if he's introduced earlier and I missed him or if he just shows up randomly. Anyway, he kind of sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger. This fight wasn't very good. I absolutely destroyed him in like 15 seconds. And like I said, I don't even know who this guy is. Maybe he had one or two lines in the beginning, but he must have been pretty forgettable. So now we actually get to the control room and send our message to Commander Briggs. Then we do a little time skip and now Commander Briggs is here. And she wants to get BT a qualified pilot. But then BT objects and it's kind of this nice moment. It kind of reminds me of the end of Transformers where Bumblebee says he wants to stay with Sam.
I wish to stay with the boy.
So, now we rejoin the rest of the 9th Fleet to capture the Death Star's power source. Then we get a badass Titanfall moment. This game is just oozing these badass moments. Now we gotta fight our way through the IMC in this kind of D-Day-esque mission. And it's so well done, you're just fighting so many titans and the scale is so epic. It creates these kind of unscripted cinematic moments, kind of like Battlefield. So we make our way to the IMC ship, but it takes off before we can stop it. So now the militia board their own ships to follow it. And then a little while later, BT has to throw us to this smaller ship that can get Cooper closer to the IMC ship. Then you have one of those cool Call of Duty jump for it moments and you board the ship and Cooper takes out the anti-aircraft weapons. And then you meet up with these special ops guys. And they do some cool parkour around the ship, which are actually really hard. This took me so many tries and I look like a complete idiot trying to do it.
I could do this!
I have the car keys in my pocket, you stupid bitch!
And then a little while later, all of us take control of the bridge. And then BT punches a hole through the wall and now we got deck access. But then Viper shows up. Another mercenary who may or may not have been introduced earlier. If she was, I do not remember her. There's a pattern of forgettable villains here. This fight is actually pretty cool. This is probably the hardest fight in the game. But anyway, you beat Viper and then BT gets ready to throw Cooper. But then Viper shows back up again. But she f***s BT up, but I think this time you managed to kill her. But BT is not looking so hot. Anyway, we head down to the Death Star power core, but BT can't reach it, so he sends Cooper in instead. But then Cooper pushes out the core into BT's chassis. And then as we're leaving, the ship blows up.
What are you doing?
Protocol 3. I will not lose another pilot. Brace for impact.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, this line kind of cuts like a knife. BT has been relatively quiet about his last pilot, and I think this line just shows that there is more to him, and maybe he is more than just a machine, and he really does care about these pilots. After that, you and BT wake up as prisoners to Blisk. And at this point, I was pretty attached to BT, so I was on the edge of my seat. Blisk wants BT to open his chassis so he can get the power core. Eventually he does open up, but he kills a few IMC soldiers. Then Sloan shows up and takes the power core and kills BT.
Say goodnight.
But luckily, BT is alive inside a little computer in his head. He gives you the Seer Kit, which is also his head. The Seer Kit has the Smart Pistol, which does raise a few questions, because this is literally the greatest weapon ever made. It kind of makes you wonder why they don't give them to every soldier. You are an unstoppable killing machine with this thing, and you don't even have to try. Anyway, our new objective is to survive, evade, resist, and escape, which is really easy to do with the greatest weapon ever made. But at this point, I thought BT was dead, so I was really pissed, so this whole level is super cathartic. There's actually a trophy here called I Know Kung Fu, which I think is a Matrix reference. Anyway, after you make it out, you call in a new Titan, and then you initialize it. And BT is back. So now we have to get to the Death Star's control room. Then we run into Sloan, another mercenary pilot. This fight was actually pretty good. She has this teleport ability which actually keeps you on your toes, but eventually you do beat her. Now we gotta pull the power core from the Death Star, but then it explodes and BT and Cooper are f***ed up. Then Bliss shows up, but he doesn't want to kill us, because I guess he's not getting paid anymore. He gives you this Apex sticker like it's some badge of honor, even though he seems to hire the stupidest people I've ever met in my life. Anyway, BT gets up and we gotta find a way to destroy the Death Star. This part is very important to the game, so I'll just let you watch
Don't worry,
it.
BT. I'm not going anywhere.
Copy that, pilot. Protocol 3. Protect the pilot.
BT, what are you doing?
Trust me.
BT!
And it's very sad, and I'll touch on this again a little later. So then Cooper has to escape to the evac point. He makes it and does a jump for it scene, and he's saved by Commander Briggs. We escape on the ship and the planet of Typhon is destroyed. So we get a conclusion cutscene, and we see that Cooper is going to be assigned a new Titan, and that's how the game ends. Titanfall 2 is an incredible game with a surprisingly weak set of villains. At its core, it tells a genuinely touching story between man and machine, and what it really means to be human. I am a sucker for that story. Terminator 2 is my favorite movie. This line still gets me.
I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do.
On a gameplay level, Titanfall 2 is perfect. The shooting feels snappy and satisfying, and the movement makes you feel quick and nimble, and it feels like there's so much room to master this movement. The villains hold this game back. Most of them are one-dimensional cliches. They're almost cartoonishly evil at some points. Blisk stands out as the most interesting of the bunch, but even he's a little lame. It's a game with so much heart, which makes the weak villains stand out even more. And what you're left with is this short, sweet experience that leaves you thinking about it days later. It's a shame we will never see Titanfall 3. Respawn is stuck in the depths of battle royales. So all we're left with is what could have been. If you were like me and you didn't play this game, I encourage you to try it, because there's something you're gonna like here. I'm Lamb Chunks. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.
Protocol 4. Like this video and subscribe to this channel.